Bérèche, you ready to go? Si! Good, because you're going. Kanonkop, you ready to go? Good, because you're going. Rouget, you ready to go?
Yes!
Good, because you're going. Chevillon, you ready to go?
Yes!
Good, because you're going. Welcome to One Take Wine. So many wines, so little time. Hey, pitter patter, let's get at her. First one I've got, what do we got in the glass? Look at that color. I have to say, especially in the cold light of day, it's almost got a little bit of salmon to it. It's got a little bit of rosé color to it, a little blush, which is surprising. It's not a rosé wine. And that's the Bérèche. Bérèche is a name that I am unfamiliar with. I've never had the pleasure. Interesting. It says on the back here that there's 11 people working there. They're spread out a little bit throughout Champagne. Dégorgé in September of last year. And 6 grams per liter dosage. So, yeah, there's a little tiny bit of sweetness to it. It's not super lush or anything. It's quite a dry champagne. And what I really like about this is that the mineral really comes through without the sharpness of a grower champagne. Often, I think in this price class of champagne, I get champagnes that they're very mineral and delicious and wonderful. But there's a sharpness to the finish that I really don't like. Wow, I can live with, but that I don't find particularly appealing. Here, the balance, it's so smooth and silky. There's a real cinnamon bun feel to this quality because there's cinnamon. And then, of course, there's a pastry-like feel. Very, very light-bodied. A lot of wee little bubbles. You can't really see them, but super tiny, very, very fine. This is quite a classy wine, I have to say. I'm very impressed. I wish I had more. I don't know why I haven't come across them before, but I think it's because they don't show up at the Swedish Systembolaget very often, and if they do, I've just missed the boat. Fantastic wine. Little smoky almost too. Wood smoke in there. Combined with that cinnamon, it's a very, very particular flavor, and it's just one of those Moorish champagnes. You just want to drink lots and lots and lots of them. All right, let's move on to the next one. What do we got in the glass? Look at that color. That's super, super dark. And here now we're into the Bourgogne-Passetoutgrain from Rouget. And I would like to draw your attention to that number on the back, 15%. This wine I'm a little bit intrigued by. There's a few reasons. One of them being Rouget. Rouget is the nephew of Jaillet, of course. So that means, good stock, well-made, well-crafted wines. Terribly overpriced these days, but you can't have everything. Passetoutgrain, for those who need to brush up on Passetoutgrain, is essentially, there can be more than one grape. As a matter of fact, I think there has to be more than one grape. And those grapes generally are a smaller amount of Gamay and a larger amount of Pinot Noir. So it's a blend. I think they're essentially made to be vin de soif. And this is very much a vin de soif. I was astounded a little bit by how generous the fruit was. It's a full-bodied wine. I was also astounded by there is no heat. 15% in a Pinot Noir generally means you're going to taste some heat. I think the alcohol, this is one of those cases where the alcohol brings some body to a very lush fruit. It's not a class structure. It's not one of those kind of sculpted wines that you might expect from a Vieux or a Premier Cru or Grand Cru in Burgundy, but it's very, very much a wine that you can drink a lot of. It'll be good with food, but it's especially for just popping and drinking with friends. Almost ripe regular strawberries, not wild strawberries, and a bit of herb, very soil flavored, but nothing outlandish. Nothing stands out really. There's a kind of a sweetness and a corpulence to this, some roundness and some fat to it, and a little bit of drying tannin on the finish, so it keeps it from becoming too heavy or too cloying. If you go to Cellar Tracker and you look this wine up, this is another fascinating issue for me as well. And one of the reasons why I wanted this bottle of wine was people had written, I think there's 5 notes for this vintage. All of them are 75. That's what the points are given, or 80 or 85. I mean, really, really low scores. And I thought that's pretty strange for Rouget, to be honest. That is very strange. And it can't be that bad. It just can't be. And the 15% issue, I didn't even recognize until after I bought the bottle. I didn't check why would I check the percentage on it? I didn't. Well, who would expect a producer like Emmanuel Rouget to have 15% alcohol? It did. I was scared. I saw those notes. Then I was doubly scared. On top of that, it wasn't cheap. It should be. I think this is a 20, 30 euro maximum type of bottle of wine. I mean, if it's a true Venezuela, it should be between 10 and 20 maximum. But of course it's not. I mean, nothing is anymore. It's just not the way of life in Burgundy, and certainly not the way of life in a Burgundy from a producer whose stature is as immense as Emmanuel Rouget. Well-deserved as well. I don't care what anybody else says. Very, very good producer of wine. I really enjoy this. I would love to, have a case of this just kind of sitting around. If somebody pops in, this is the bottle I'd pop. Entre amis. Probably wouldn't pop it for dinner. I'd probably just pop it because afternoon, bang, let's have a glass of wine. It's a drinker's wine. You know what I mean? It's for drinkers. So if you're a drinker, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just go with your gut instinct. And I'm glad I did. It's really, really good. Let's move on to this one. What do we got in the glass? A little bit lighter in color, actually, compared to the Pinot Noir. And this is the Kanonkop Paul Sauer 2020. There's a nice little map on the back here, and it kind of shows, which I think is kind of funny, that the 2 years between 22 and 24 should be written off the bottle shock, and it should be drinking as of this year. It was one of the reasons I decided to purchase this on release here in Sweden. It was yesterday or something. And I was kind of like, well, Kanonkop, it's been many, many moons since I bought a bottle and drank a bottle. Price is okay. First thing on the nose, especially when I opened it, was a nice mint thing, and I got all excited because I was starting to think, a little bit into going down the route of the American sort of Cabernets, from the 90s type thing. Then comes a much more voluptuous blackcurrant type fruit right now on the nose, and the mint is kind of in the background a little bit. And then you get it in the mouth. I think the fruit is a little bit floppy on this. I'm not as crazy about it. It's delicious in its way, I suppose, for some people. I think it's very farmy, very barn-like. I don't know if that's Brut, but it is. It's got that restrained, luscious exotica of American Cabernets from the 90s. I'll say that. Maybe from a less important vintage in the 90s. It doesn't have it has structure, but not a ton of length or finish, or no kind of sculpted sort of presence that I feel like I need to pay attention to. It's quite high acidity, which gives it a sourness, which can be refreshing. That gets better with aeration, I must say, because it was even worse, or more sour a little earlier when I just opened it. And another thing I'd like to point out is that with food, it was very, very good. I think that high acidity matches very, very well to, I had a steak. But at the same time, there's missing some grandeur to this. This is nothing that I would purchase again simply because I thought there was more to this than there is. I think it's got a great nose, and then it gets let down a little bit by its palate. And maybe in some years that'll change a little. I doubt it, but if it, could. That's, wines do these things, right? They transform a little bit, but what I get from the start is how I foresee its future. Yeah. It's okay. Is it good value? It's 500 kroners here in Sweden. So, I mean, you don't get much for 500 kroners these days. And in that sense, yes. In the sense that I don't really want to drink any more of this wine, no. But I think different strokes for different folks, and some people are going to enjoy this and appreciate it in a different way than I do, for sure. I just don't like the lack of structure. The very last wine I'm going to talk about, I don't have it in the glass because I drank it all, and I've opened a couple bottles of this over the last week or two. It's a recent release from Systembolaget here in Sweden. Robert Chevillon, the Nuits-Saint-Georges Vigne. I really like drinking young Chevillon because it retains the mineral freshness. There's a little vitamin sort of character to it. The darkness of Nuits-Saint-Georges sort of presents itself and is there, but it's restrained still. It hasn't taken over. It hasn't decided that it's going to begin its magic spell and its dark arts or the wine. There's no toughness to it just yet. There's still just pure class. I often drink the Premier Cru Vauquelin young as well. I've had both this and the Vauquelin with 10 years of age or even more, I think. And I prefer them young. I think Chevillon's wines are really attractive young. I understand that they're nowhere near ready to be consumed, but there's something that I find attractive about drinking them young. And so I will continue to do so. Problem with these, I think, is that the price in the last few years has jumped literally by 30%. And that's a lot, because this is a village. This is not Premier Cru or Grand Cru. And I noticed that the Vauquelin and the Premier Cru went up a lot in price as well. It's gone to a Grand Cru price, or what used to be a Grand Cru price. So that's what we're stuck with these days. C'est la vie. Thanks so much for stopping by. Really enjoyed this round. Enjoyed talking about them too. Glad you could be here. Please do come back again. In the meantime, stay thirsty.